Okay, my name is Butch Walker, and I've been asked to do a Q&A for Amazon, Amazon.com. And so here we go. We're going to do it. I got a list of questions here on my phone. So let's start by going to number one here. This question is from Greg Hill. It says, "What is your favorite guitar?" My favorite guitar is probably is my 62 Hummingbird. I have a 62 Gibson Hummingbird acoustic, which it's more for sentimental reasons. It doesn't play amazing. It sounds okay. It's been dropped a million times. It's full of holes. It's full of cracks, which I don't know, people out there that don't know this in guitar speak, that takes a lot of the tone out of it and a lot of the life out of it. But it still records well and it looks amazing, and it's honestly the only guitar that after this crazy wildfire took my house and studio and every piece of gear I'd ever owned about 8 years ago, or whenever, I don't remember, 7-8 years ago. That was the only guitar that survived because I was in New York City with my family and I was playing an acoustic show and I had that guitar with me. So I kind of vowed to never drop it again on purpose, because I dropped it a lot on purpose, and never take it on tour because I didn't want to lose it or anything happen to it. So things became a little bit more precious to me after losing that much stuff. So I still use it on a lot of records, and I wrote probably about 15 years worth of music on it. So thanks for asking. This question comes from Michael Lawson at Muddy in Indy. Twitter handle. Sorry, I feel like it's a whole other language we've had to learn to speak. Do you speak internet? How do you write about something so personal, the loss of your dad being one of them, and make an entire album? My biggest fear is losing my parents. Well, Michael, death is certain, and you dread it your whole life, as you said. It's the moment you wait for and dread your entire life. And so when it finally does come close and then happen, I don't want to say that you're completely relieved from it, but there's definitely another level that you go to as you're traveling through time. There's another level that you get to that you're not in yet. There's another club that you get into whenever you lose a parent, especially one that you were close with, or a family member, or whatever, loved one. So I guess what it means is, when you say, how do you write about something so personal, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I don't know how you can't. I mean, I probably had a hard time saying anything about anything other than that. Like, that was impossible for me to shut the valve off when it came time to writing songs. There was too much to say and too much going through my mind. And I also think it is part of the catharsis and part of the healing, maybe, is writing. Some people go to therapy, and some people, do drugs, jump out of airplanes, whatever. I write songs about it, and that's my therapy for the most part. So, I don't want to say that it came super easy, but it definitely gave me plenty to write about. This is a question from Vicky J. Do you find it more challenging writing/producing music for other people or for yourself, and why? No, I don't find it challenging to produce and write for other people unless the people themselves are challenging, which can happen in this day and age. I think it really matters about if you're in the room with the person and you really like them and they like you and there's a good chemistry, then it's not so hard. It doesn't become rocket science or brain surgery. And that's, I think, people that overthink things to death. I'm not very much of that. I like to kind of just go with gut instinct and get it in the moment kind of a guy, I guess, when it comes to writing and producing. So when the only time the life gets sucked out of it for me is when it's people that are their own worst enemies and just get in their own way and overanalyze everything to death, where they want to change something that's great 50 times just because they're so unsure of themselves. So I guess I work better with confident people is what I'm trying to say. And when it comes to, let's see, your question was, for myself, writing songs for myself, that is only a challenge if I feel like I'm repeating myself lyrically. That becomes the biggest problem, I think, when you've written songs for about 20 years, that you don't want to run out of things to say and you don't want to recycle things and talk about the same things. And I'll look back sometimes I'll go back and listen to my music from the last 15, 20 years and go, oh my God, I sure use the word car a lot, or I sure use the word drunk a lot. And then you kind of start getting mad at yourself. But I think you just can't be, you just can't be too hard on yourself. It's just music and it's just lyrics. So say what you feel. Mike McClarty asks, what is the first thing extravagant that you bought for yourself with your first substantial check? A car. Duh. I bought a 72 Buick Grand Sport convertible, candy apple green, white leather interior with a white convertible top. Beautiful, beautiful car. Got stolen out of my driveway 6 months after I bought it. So that sucked. So, fucking thanks for bringing that up, Mike. Here's a question from Mike Doucette. His question is, I understand as a musician the need to grow and experiment with new sounds and ideas, but do you ever feel like just writing a good old-fashioned rock album? Like the stuff that made you want to get into music in the first place? Well, Mike Doucette, sounds like you want me to write another good old-fashioned rock record more than I want to. And you're pretty much one of several people that say that. And I think it's because you probably fell in love with an idea of what an artist was when you heard them for the first time. And maybe that was about 15 years ago when I was playing music that I don't even really play anymore or write. And you've had a hard time getting past that. I love rock and roll music, and yes, it got me into music in the first place, as you said, but my palate, maybe just as a musician, as opposed to just a music listener, gets worn out a lot quicker because I ingest so much music and I do so much music, and I always want to keep being inspired to do other things and move forward and not look back. And I think if I had to wake up and eat a chocolate covered donut 20 days straight, I think, or even, or let's say 20 years straight, I'd probably throw up in my fucking mouth if I had to eat a chocolate glazed donut 20 years later, if I'd been doing it every day for 20 years straight. So it's more important for me to just exercise my brain musically and do stuff that I'm really inspired by at that moment. Otherwise, I wouldn't make any music, and then, I don't know, you wouldn't be listening to me at all. So hope that didn't come out too harsh. Sorry. Shower thoughts. This question comes from Kelly Pereira. Would you want your son to go into the music scene? Why or why not? Well, my son is 7, so he's at the ripe age definitely for success, especially in pop right now. So we're working on his first pop record right now. It's going really well. He hasn't had to show up once in the studio. I'm just doing it all myself and basically putting a mic in front of him and getting him to talk about his life. And then I'm just running it through the computer and auto-tuning it and creating a melodic algorithm to go along with these fat beats I have that were done by some Swedish dude in his basement. And so I'm pretty excited about it. My son has no idea, but there again, that's pretty normal for the for that world. So I think it's going to turn out pretty well. And he's going to be hugely successful and won't even be aware of it, which would be awesome. This is the next question. Casey Kallenberger asks, is it possible to remember all the lyrics to all the songs you wrote, or do you forget them if you play them live? I can't remember lyrics, let alone people I meet. It's awful. I'm terrible at it. I have to look at your name again. See, Casey Kallenberger. I almost called you Carrie Hamburger, and I'm awful at that. I can't remember people's names. I can't remember my mom's birthday. I suck. I'm awful. I don't know what to say. Selective memory, I suppose. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to do better. I'm only 9 days into the new year, so let me work on this. Lyrically, I've been known, just like Ozzy Osbourne or Mick Jagger, to have a teleprompter, except they can afford the expensive ones that scroll. I have to just have mine on paper, laying all over the stage and floor and attached to body parts and writing it on my hand and whatever. So when you get over the, probably I guess the 50 song mark, and then you get over the 45 age mark, it all starts fucking going south. So thank you, Casey Kallenberger. This question comes from Nick Taglianetti. What's it like working and touring with Ryan Adams? Well, it is awesome working with Ryan. Ryan and I kind of bonded over music and metal and guitars, and we kind of realized we were very much the same person. Similar, but he's kind of like the wacky, like, witch doctor younger brother, and I'm like the older sensible, guy. But what that has done is that combination has taught me a thing or two about throwing a lot of the sensibilities out the window and being a little bit more dangerous and unpredictable with the recording of the music. Like the record we did together recently, Afraid of Ghosts, that's the new record that I have coming out. And he went in there with me in the studio and was like, okay, we're going to do this my way, not your way, because he knew I already knew what I was doing in the studio and had made a pretty impressive track record for myself in producing and recording records for myself and for other people. So here I am letting this guy who pretty much is known as an artist, not really a producer, but I knew he had the talent to do it, and I knew he would be just crazy enough to want to work with somebody who already had the knowledge to do all that. So the results were 4 days later I had a record. And I don't take that long to make my records myself when I do them, but the one thing he took out of it, which saved a lot of time, was he took a lot of me doing any second guessing, if that were the case, to my own stuff, by him saying, I love what you just did there. And I'd be like, oh, really? And I wouldn't have thought that, but he was right after I had a chance to digest it. So he goes with his gut, and I love that. And he's a 13-year-old genius, boy genius that never grew up and still plays, pinball every day and stays up and smokes weed and makes incredible music and lives and breathes it. And it's an inspiration to me and probably anybody else that grew up on music, to see somebody like that would rather be in the studio 24/7 or on stage playing it. Christopher Cashin asks, why do you sell certain songs to artists and keep certain songs for your personal projects? What makes a good song? What makes a great song? Well, I suppose when you listen to the radio and there's a song that comes on you've never heard before, and then it sits there and, repeats one phrase over and over again till it just beats it into your fucking brain, you're gonna remember it. And I'd say good job on writing a song that got in people's head. That's a good job. That doesn't necessarily mean to me that it's awesome. That just means that they did a good job making the song memorable and hooky. And sometimes I feel like that's all that really matters for, like, let's say radio or creating a pop hit. Every once in a while, a good song will sneak in. Let's say a great song will sneak in and say something else besides one word over and over again and sound like an auto-tuned, Barbie doll being beaten into submission. So I think it's probably safe to say that that's the answer to me, but I can't say that I write them for myself and then give them away to other people, because it's two different sides of the brain working. I mean, I don't sit down and write a song for myself and go, I'm going to give that to somebody else. It never goes to somebody else usually, because it's just there's a different set of writing and lyrics and subject matter that I don't think the people that are looking for outside songs are looking for hit songs. They're looking for songs that are going to get on the radio and make their record company and managers a lot of money and make them famous and get them, on VH1 or whatever. Fuck, I don't know anymore. But like, it's going to definitely be serving a purpose to have a single. So I'm not looking at it as I've got to like write a song about my dead dog, when I was 13 years old and what his name was and all that, and then expect that picture painted at the end of the day to relate to someone looking for a hit that needs to just be talking about something highly relatable to lots of people. This one comes from Katie Wong. Her question is, part of why I love Butch and his music so much is because of the stories he tells with his lyrics. Thank you. How much of those stories and people are based on real life? How much is made up? I kind of answered this earlier in another question, but I do love telling stories though in music. I think I just was raised on a lot of writers, artists that told interesting or funny stories about people. I mean, everything from Tom Waits to Elvis Costello to Billy Joel to Springsteen and Dylan and Petty, and that's like some of my favorite artists of all time. And they were just always really good at colorfully detailing in a few words and giving you this imagery, as opposed to, it wasn't abstract, so and I understand that style of writing and respect it. I loved how, like, Kurt Cobain was way more poetic with his lyrics, and he was great at it, but I think I identified more with actually a plot or a theme. Maybe that just was me growing up a movie nut, and in music I always thought that was interesting and fun, and that probably stuck more. Your other half of the question was how much of these stories and people are based on real life and how much is made up. Well, my whole life is a lie, Katie. So I'm kidding. I think probably more than anything, if they had to be real existing stories, I would have probably half the amount of output, because my life has not been that incredibly exciting and eventful to write some of the stuff I've written. So you do have to draw from a fictional place sometimes, I think, but that's okay. Some of my favorite artists always did that, and people would go like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he just said that about his wife, or said that about blah blah." And it's like, well, they're probably writing it from a different person's perspective, So you have to keep that in mind when you're listening to music, I think, is that it's not all introspective. Here's a question from Elizabeth Lynn. Elizabeth Lynn asks, what exactly is going on in the new video Bed on Fire? Is there any relevance to Sons of Anarchy? Elizabeth, motorcycles existed a long time ago, way before Sons of Anarchy, which is a TV show I've never seen. So I couldn't even tell you anything about the show. All I know is I know it's giant, I know it's big, but maybe that's just an ill-timed thing, having motorcycles in a music video now, because a lot of people are going to think that. But honestly, if you watch it, it's more about there's this gang of corpse metal, like black metal dudes with corpse paint on, which is kind of an ode to my metal past, which I was never in a black metal band, but I sure liked a lot of it growing up. And a lot of the like Scandinavian black metal scene, it still thrives today, and it's a really romantic culture, believe it or not, that I'm fascinated by, even though my music doesn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But I think that's the beauty of it, is I love dichotomy, and the dichotomy of having them going into a bar and beating the fuck out of all these guys and stealing and having sex with their women and all this just crazy nihilistic freak out happening in a scene for a song that is so down and mellow and more like acoustic based and gentle. I feel like that dichotomy has always excited me a little bit, so it didn't make sense to like do the video any other way. Plus I have about 8 motorcycles and have been riding them for years and years, so it's just it came naturally for me to call my biker buddies and put on corpse metal paint and go to the desert and hammer out a video for 2 days. Thanks for asking. This is from Kim Martin Bannerman, KM Bannerman. Excuse me. What's the song you wish all of us fans would forget / not request at live shows? I'm fine with you yelling whatever you want at shows. I think it's awesome. I'm honored, actually. I know people don't understand that when I've had a few drinks and I'm up on stage and have the power of the mic in front of me and I get a little catty about it, but that's just because I say what's on my mind immediately and can't filter it and can't help it. But I'm just glad that people have been listening to more than more than the last 2 years of music I've put out. So when somebody requests a song that I had a hand in writing 20 years ago or whatever, it's awesome. It's funny, I'm not going to play it, but it's still awesome that somebody even knows it. Except some people go to shows and do that gratuitously just to show everybody around them that, hey, I've been here forever. So I'm on to you, motherfucker. I know who you are, and you're at every show. I know that person, and no matter what, it's not that impressive because there's Google. So, you can see the catalog of music that I've done over the years. I think I'd probably be more bummed. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to answer it because then you're just going to start yelling at shows. So, all right. This last one is from Rosie Rocket at Marvy3 Girl. Marvy3 is a reference to the Marvelous 3, which was the band I was in a long time ago, and I actually know who Rosie Rocket is. She's radical, and she's been to many, many of my shows. Thank you for that, Rosie. I see you on the front row of every show in Atlanta for years now. What is one of your favorite fan moments or interactions? Well, I mean, that right there, I think I probably answered it before I even read the question, because when I see people show up that have been coming to shows of mine for 10, 15 years even, or more, that's the ultimate interaction with a fan to me, is just seeing them there, like at, in the first few rows and singing along to every song, and just seeming stoked to be there, and not just there just because their friend dragged them there. And that's fine too. I'm glad they come, and hopefully they'll come back to another one. But nothing is cooler than having lifers for fans. Nothing is cooler. I mean, anybody that denies that is full of shit. It's incredible to have my little island of friends and family and fans that have been along this journey with me, and I'm gonna, as long as they keep coming back, I'll keep playing music. So I appreciate it, Rosie. So my name is Butch Walker. Thank you for joining me here today on Amazon Q&A. And my record, Afraid of Ghosts, is coming out first week of February. So if you're seeing this and it's first week of February, then please grab it. And thanks for listening.